Hey guys, and welcome to another First Impressions video. Today we're going to be looking at eFootball PES 2021, the season update. Now this is a full standalone game, although from what I can make out it doesn't add too much to the previous game, but you can play it on its own. We're going to look at the options, we're going to look at the different game modes, I'm going to explain what I like and what I don't like about each of them, and then we're probably going to have a look at the gameplay as well. Whilst I talk through things. I'm a bit 50-50 with this one. I like football games. I'm not a huge fan of football itself. Like, I don't like watching it. I don't follow it. But I've always enjoyed playing the games, both PES and FIFA. So I'm going to be making comparisons to FIFA quite a lot in this game because FIFA was the last football game that I actually played. It was 2019, I think, one that I last played. So we're going to look at that. But we'll go into the options straight away. Now, it has a fairly decent startup, a fairly decent amount of options that you can do. You can change a few things before you actually get into the game. It is worth noting, though, that if you want it to go into full screen, it's got a pre-options menu, if you like, which is really frustrating because you can't change it outside of booting the game up again, as I discovered on stream earlier. And it doesn't boot into full screen by default, which is somewhat annoying. Really, it's 2021. I'd expect better. I'd expect a borderless full screen. I would expect it to be in the in-game options as opposed to a pre-options setup. It's a bit dated in my opinion. But let's go through and see what options it really adds. Okay, so here we are at the pre-game setup, if you like. So when you first start the game, it asks you what language you want to be in. And then it asks you your basic default configuration that you want. It then asks you if you want to change it again here without you actually being able to really change anything. Which is a bit odd. Like, you're choosing the same option twice, essentially. I always go with alternate, which is where you dash with your right trigger and you shoot with your B button. But obviously you can choose which one you want. Like I say, custom doesn't really seem to do anything. I wasn't able to really change anything to what I wanted it to at all, which was kind of a letdown. The other problem I've got is that the selections are grayed out. When you are choosing the option you want to select, it's the light grey one, not the solid black option. It's a bit disconcerting. Your brain kind of wants to choose the bright one because that's what we've been programmed, if you like, as gamers to select. But with PES, it's the lighter one. It's the grayed out one that you're selecting, and it can be a bit off-putting almost. When I was playing earlier, I kept selecting the wrong option. It took a while for me to get used to selecting the right one. Completely subjective. I don't really know why they went with that design choice of having it grayed out as the one that you're actually highlighting, but there we are. Don't know if you'll have the same issue. It's certainly something to take note, though. Outside of that, you've got your contrast and your brightness. Keeping it 50-50 seems to work just fine. You're not really going to go into any sort of zones where you'd need it to be darker. It's very much a case of it's a bright pitch, so a fairly bright monitor at normal would do. The game's autosave feature is awful, by the way. It doesn't work. Or rather, it doesn't autosave when you'd think it would autosave. When you are in your career modes, you go in and you start your new one. You'd expect that once you've gone past the tutorial of the new game mode, that the autosave would have kicked in and you would be able to resume where you left off. That's not the case. You have to create a file first and then set up the autosave if you want it to be on. I discovered this earlier when I was streaming, and I went into, I think it was my Master League. I was in the Master League, and I went through it all, went through the first lot of cutscenes and everything, got through, did some options, came out of it to try and change a setting because I wasn't happy with it, which we'll get into when we get into the actual options in a moment, and no save data. Had to go through it all again. So they need to work out or change when the save actually happens, because the autosave feature is not automatic, which is a bit odd, but it's worth noting. Next, it asks you to accept the game's term of use. Now, I'm not sure if it's good or bad or just annoying. You really should be reading terms of use whenever you go in a new game or whatever, but I think it was stated that if we read all of the terms of contract in our lifetime that we'd see, we would actually have to read through more like pages than our lifetime is actually worth it. So what this does is it means you have to physically click on it. So you've got to open up the in-game Steam thingy that pops up with your shift tab in order for you to then actually be able to click on the agree to the above and move on. Sort of annoying because you've got to keep shift tab in, and the mouse support on this game is not ideal. Like, you don't see the cursor at all. It doesn't do anything. Only seems to work with the controller, which is another kind of negative for me. But yeah, so it is worth bearing in mind that that's going to take a little bit of time just to get through all of the terms of use and terms of service. There's like 2 or 3. This is only the first one. All right, here we are. We are in the game. So there are a few things to note. Firstly, there is an online scene. I think the online service is now currently open. You get a notification when you first sign in that they do routine server maintenance once a week between midnight and 6 UTC. I think it's on Thursdays, which is important to know. It's good that they are planning to maintain it and keep the online servers and everything working well. You then have like a news updates that come out. You've got a few modes here. You've got statistics, eFootball, welcome, which is just your exhibitions. You got my club, which is where you basically start your own club, get your own players. It's very much like FIFA's Ultimate Team, but done a bit differently. And then you can take part in like exhibition matches, tournaments and stuff. Your Master League is the mode that I think most people are going to play. You start a club as a manager, or you take over a club as a manager, and then you run through career and try and take that club and your job and your career as far as you can. Become a Legend is another standard mode, but I'm not a fan. And the reason why I'm not a fan of this is because you can only play as your player. I've not been able to find, and I was trying for a good half an hour today on stream to work out how to actually play as the entire team or just myself, and it was just myself that was all available. Kind of upsetting, because I'd like to just play through a career as my player, but I'd enjoy playing as the entire team, and I don't know why the option's not there. If it is, and I'm just being a complete moron and can't find it, please let me know in the comments down below how to do it, because as much as Master League is fun and it's a good mode, and again, I can play as the team or I can skip matches or whatever, I always enjoyed on FIFA taking my character through and seeing how far and what teams I could join and what contracts I could get, and taking it's a different dynamic that was fun. But again, if I can only play as myself, it's not really very fun. If you don't get the ball, you're not going to be able to do anything. You just kind of run around in your own section of the pitch. You can't see anything unless you change the camera angle, which makes it very difficult for you to do anything. Anyway, it's not a fun experience for me personally. If you like that, happy days, but I don't know why there isn't that option in there. However, we are going to take a look at the options, because I have a few qualms with the options, guys. I'm not happy. So in options or settings is where you go to your edit, which is where you can do really cool things. You can edit the players how you want. You can make them look different and all that sort of stuff, which is kind of cool. You can check the faces and see what the updates look like compared to PES 2020, which is kind of cool. You've got the latest live update, which is pretty simple and straightforward. That's where they'll take the latest teams if there's just been a transfer window or anything that's happened or somebody's retired. You can get the live update and get the latest teams from that. Your online settings seem pretty simple. Edit your profile, your match block list if you want to block people, text channel presets, and auto login settings. Pretty standard. Nothing out of the ordinary. That's kind of annoying though. Instead of going back, you go straight back to the main screen every time you come out of it. It's why? Why is that a thing? Your system settings and your options. Now, this is something that I mean when I say that the entire options menu is a little bit dated. The options should be in system settings, or system settings should be in options. There's an extra tab and there's no need for it. So, if we look at options, you've got your soundtrack, and you can select which songs you want in, right? But if you go to your, come out of that, again, taking me right back to the main menu instead of coming back to this one. If you go into your system settings, you've actually got audio settings here, which makes no sense. Now, not only that, but your music volume is all you get. You get your menu sound, you get your music volume, you get your commentary volume, you get your crowd volume, you get all your separate volumes. But your music volume contributes to all the music everywhere. So if you don't want music in your menus for whatever reason, but you want music in the game, you can't do that. Like, that's not a thing. So if you play the Master League, which has cutscenes, which has music audio in it, the only way to get those is to have the music volume switched up, which then puts music into the menus, which is not, personally, for things like stream and stuff, that's not what I want. The other problem with Master League is in the cutscenes, there is no voice acting, which is fine, and I understand why not, but they've got this like really in-depth kind of cool way of playing out the season, whereas on FIFA, especially in 2019, it was just you get your message and you do your questions, and it's all on sort of like a spreadsheet format sort of thing. Like, it's just a Word document that you fill in, sort of, which is fine. But this is actually a press conference, and it'd be nice if, even if it was just the reporters, some generic voices for the reporters that aren't anybody in particular asking the questions, if they were voice acted. If the people that are working with you in the manager that are asking you the questions again was voice acted. I don't expect everything to be voice acted, but if you're going to make an immersive system like that, voice acting would be nice. Outside of that, though, the options, they're just backwards. Like I say, you can't actually go in and make it full screen in this video. Your video settings are, they're all right. They're okay. It sets you on medium again and puts motion blur on automatically. There's not a huge amount of detail in the graphics here, and like I say, when you start the game up, you get the option before you actually boot into the game of what you want to set it as. But on the whole, just make it so I can go borderless full screen, please, and have the options in the options. We're 2021. Why are we getting pre-game options? I don't understand. Bring it up to date, please. Game speed and brightness, you know, you got all your other general options. It's just a few of the way that they're doing. It's a bit finicky and backwards, and it caused me the most frustration when I was trying to play today. Again, every time I exit one form of option or setting, it boots me straight all the way back to the beginning menu, which is not ideal. Like, if I want to go back, it should just take me back one screen, not all of them. But outside of that, it's not too terrible, I suppose. Sure, have a look at some gameplay, because the gameplay is not too bad. What we're going to do is we're just going to do a quick game. Because I'm on this upstairs PC and not the streaming PC downstairs, and I've only got local saves on and stuff, I'd have to go through all of the like the intros and the tutorials and stuff to get you through to really show you a deep, in-depth look at how the different game modes play out. Generally, I've explained how they work, and if you're looking at this video, you probably already just wanted to see what the difference is between PES 20 and PES 21. So you already kind of know, I'm assuming. But we're going to do a quick play because this allows me to show you the settings that you can do before and during the game, and actually have a look at the game itself. So you can change your game plan from this menu before you start. You can change your uniform. You can change what stadium you're at, and then you can just jump in. You've got your camera settings, your system settings from here as well, and just general settings. General. Your game plan screen can take a bit getting used to. You've got your simple and you've got your more advanced. Generally, you can team sheet and edit positions, so you can see who's who, you can see who's where. Substitute, you just generally pick one, and it's quite adaptive in that it will show you where the person that you're trying to change can actually go, which is kind of cool. And you've got, when you're in the career mode, the Master League, it's got a team chemistry feeling as well, which gives you a score. The higher the score, the better the team will play, which is kind of cool. So you just generally pull it across, and there you go. We've got defensive middle, 71 stats. Aren't we cool? You can change this dude over here as well, because why not? And then once you've done that, you just return the screen. You got your tactics settings here as well, which is, changes the formation, which is a bit odd. So it's like, it's weird, but basically whatever you want to do, it kind of goes with the formation that's best for the play that you're trying to do, the play style that you want to do. We're going to leave it as default, and we're just going to go back to normal D plan. And then you've got your player settings, your support settings, your data management. You got all of it. You've got your tactics that you can do. Like, it's pretty in depth. It's pretty intuitive. It's not too bad. I generally stick with simple because I'm a moron. I change people out and I play football. That's literally what I do on these games. Yeah, let's kick off and see what the game actually looks like when it plays. So here we are. We're in the game. It plays pretty well. The commentators are a little bit on the loud side, as they always are. And I've noticed that the amount of lines that they've got it's not ideal. There's not many. In one game I had him repeat a couple of lines and it just felt limited. It's pretty smooth when it runs though. The AI is a bit dumb, which is a problem in that they won't often go where you want them to, and the automatic selection is not ideal. You have to pretty much manually and micromanage it, which, as you know, when you play a football game or two, can be a little bit difficult, can be a little bit problematic. The passing and that's not bad. It would be nice if they had a cancel feature for last button press. What I mean is when the ball's in the air and you go to get it or you go to head it, you only get one press. Once you pressed it, it's locked in and there's no way of getting around it, which kind of sucks. It can be a little bit frustrating when that happens. But outside of that, it plays pretty well. It seems pretty well optimized. It doesn't seem to be taking a lot of my graphical data or my VRAM or anything. Like, it doesn't seem to be stuttering. It plays smooth. It's just the actual playability of it is a bit off. It's not as smooth an experience as it probably could be. The penalty system on this is also interesting. It uses like a pseudo guess where you're going to go, get the right amount of power, etc. It's certainly an interesting way of doing it, especially with a controller. Trying to move the right analog stick exactly where you want it can be a bit difficult. But on the whole, if you take out the fact that a lot of the options are a bit backwards. The fact that you could only play as your player in your career and not like this with the entire team. And if you're happy to pay less to get less, right? This is very much a game of you get what you pay for. It's only £25. People have been basically like they've been toting it as a DLC that's not a DLC, right? It's a DLC that's a standalone game essentially. It is what it is. Like for a cheap football game with current standings and stuff, it's not terrible. It needs some improvements, just some quality of life changes for me. But on the whole, guys, it's pretty fun. I can see me putting a fair amount of time in this because I do like a good football game. It will be interesting to see how Master League progresses, and if it gets a decent online kind of presence with everything that they look like they're going to be doing, I can see it being pretty regular and pretty straightforward, pretty good. So there you have it, guys. That's my first impressions of PES 2021 season update. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Would you buy this? Would you stick with 2020? Would you prefer they added a few more things? More teams? More players? Just more in general? Do the options bother you? Let me know in those comments down below, guys. Thank you very much for watching. And I will see you on next time. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Ciao, ciao.